Okay. So there are reasons why I think that we should comply. One, again, it's the law. But I want to share this video, and I'm hoping it'll play in here. If not, I'm going to have to go into another page on the web. And so give me just a second, and I will get into that page. Okay, sorry for the delay. I had to go grab the URL so I could play that on the screen. Okay, it should work. Can you see the video? Okay.
Portland Community College at Mozilla Firefox. Portland Community College. Portland. App. Do not show me the Firefox again. Checkbox not checked. The check risk app. Yes button to activate. Press space. My PCC vertical app. Skip application app. Portal local graphics app. App not ready.
Imagine that you're trying to do homework online and this is what you have to deal with.
App, email app, groups app, help app, log app, my keep app, my phone app.
I'm sight impaired and I have RP, which is retinitis pigmentosa, and it's as if I'm looking through straws. For a sighted student, they can just see what's there on the page and click on whatever they need, and they can go back and forth to the syllabus and back to the page very easily. I have to navigate back and forth and run up and down the page with a JAWS program that takes a lot longer.
Today, everyone uses computers, and PCC students use computers extensively to access online content via the web. But for students with a disability, this can present enormous challenges that we really need to address. Daniel Turnbull is one of our students who faces enormous obstacles due to his visual disability.
The major that I've chosen is psychology. I want to be a counselor for people with disabilities.
I'm Kendra Colley. I'd like to talk with you today about implementing some new standards to ensure that all of our online content is accessible to all of our students.
I think the frustration that I observe with students with disabilities is that they can't complete the assignments. They've got this time set aside and they're not able to do the work. You see other students participating in the discussion. You want to participate, you have a limited time to participate, but you can't do that because you haven't been able to watch the film that you need to watch in order to participate.
Some of the problems that I have are that there are no captions, that there are no transcripts available. So if it's not captioned, they should at least have a file available so that I can read what's being said and then try to fit that in with the video, read it at the same time that I'm watching the video. Well, I have to work more closely with my instructors and see if either they can give me another assignment, or if something that I can learn from another video, or sometimes I need to set up time with an interpreter to meet with them and have them interpret the videos, sit down with them and have them interpret the videos. So it's almost pointless because sometimes I have to come here to campus anyway, even though I'm taking a class that's supposed to be online. I don't like having to go and get a counselor or get disability assistance to come and help me, because all I need is just the voice that's on the video through captions. I should be able to email the instructor, and they should be able to fix it right away. Because other students can listen to their assignments, can listen to the information that's on the internet, and if the instructor notices that there's something wrong with the audio, they can fix it right away.
If there's no captioning, on the video, then we're not going to be learning anything from what you're saying on the video. So it's very important that you have captioning, because we can really be involved, what's happening in the world and in classrooms or whatever. It's very important.
My goal is to get a PhD in physics or math. Because I'm physically impaired, I can't use my hands. I use the computer exclusively to do my homework and to access content from PCC. It is my connection to the outside world. It connects me to my family, my friends, to the school. Without a computer, I would be pretty much stuck. The most frustrating thing that I've encountered at PCC are the PDFs that you have to download instead of being able to fill out the form online, because once I download the file, I have to find someone to fill it out for me, which could take days. That's frustrating when a lot of the websites time out on you and I have to re-log in multiple times. People that use the computer use the mouse all the time and don't really recognize the fact that without a mouse, the computer is very hard to use, and dragging and dropping is almost impossible to do with the mouse stick without the use of your hands. So any program that you need to drag and drop is almost inaccessible to someone with a disability. I am picking a time that I want the light to flash and solving for negative K at this point. When I'm taking tests at school, they give me 3 times the amount of time that a regular student has to take the test, and it's not because I need more time to think about it, it's all entering the data into the computer.
The reason you need to be ready for these changes is not just because of the laws, but you as an instructor have to think about when a student comes to your class, are you going to say to them, I'm sorry, you can't watch the video. We have to make sure all of our classes are accessible to everyone. It just makes sense.
Helping all of our students reach their educational goals is a shared responsibility. The Departments of Instructional Support and Distance Learning have been working on guidelines and information about how this can be done more easily. It's not so difficult. For example, course materials can be designed so that they're easily accessible. The Departments of Instructional Support and Distance Learning will be here to provide training, provide support, provide some of the actual technical pieces of doing things such as putting captioning on videos. Anything to make sure that all of the materials that go online are accessible. We'll be starting with new courses. So as courses are developed for an online environment, the materials need to be made accessible.
I believe that as an instructor, I want my students to be successful. I want to give them the tools necessary for them to achieve. And this is one of the ways. This ensures that all students have the opportunity to be successful and not just those students that don't have a disability. It does matter
because everybody should be included, and nobody should be excluded for any reason. So even though it's a small portion of the population of the school, they have every right to be successful with anyone else.
There are a lot of disabilities out there, some that we're aware of and some that we're not aware of. So I think the changes we make for the students who have real strong barriers will help the students with maybe lesser barriers, or students have no identified barriers at all. So I do think that the changes we make will help our courses just be more accessible to all students. I mean, I think you as a teacher need to decide, are you going to open the door or are you going to shut the door? Are you going to provide an academic experience for somebody or not?
A key part of PCC's mission is delivering accessible and quality education. Making sure that all of our online materials are accessible is important, and it's the right thing to do. We need to help our students, all of our students, meet their educational goals.
If I was able to take online classes without somebody helping me navigate all the time, and I could do it independently, it would mean the world to me. I wouldn't have to like call a friend and have them tandem in and view my screen for me so they could help me navigate through the site, wasting their time and mine. If I can't find somebody with eyesight to help me navigate the pages, I either fail or get an incomplete. Yeah, I believe I'd get to school a lot faster. I mean, at this rate, it's going to take me forever.
Designing an accessible online curriculum means your courses will serve a broader audience. Students with disabilities, ESOL students, and students with different learning styles will all benefit. Accessibility is a very important issue for all community colleges because an average of 12% of the community college students are disabled. This is an initiative we must move ahead on. Not only is it a policy of access at PCC, but it's the law. We are committed to making all course content accessible to everyone. It is the mission of PCC, and there is no success without access.
Okay, so I like to share that video just because I think it really kind of gives us a different perspective, particularly of the students. And these are all students, even though this is a Portland Community College video, all of our students are pretty much similar in that we, especially in California, have open access. And so we do get a lot of students with disabilities that may not feel that they could apply to university or have all the opportunities that they would want afforded to them. So we do tend to have a lot of varying students. And so I think that I give several workshops on Section 508 compliance, and this one is particularly on creating Word documents. And I just like to stress the importance of making sure that everything is accessible to everyone who may need it. And it's a lot easier to do in advance than have to scramble if you get a student who is maybe going through the process of being certified through the DSPS office, and then you get the little slip of paper saying you now have to provide accommodations. It's just easier to have everything ready before the semester starts in case you do need it. And if you use the same materials over and over, then it's a really good practice to get into. So Section 508 is the law that we have to follow. And basically it says that people with disabilities, blindness, visual, mobile impairments, should have the same access to the learning environment or the information that people who do not have a disability have. And in doing that, that means we also, if we're handing out Word documents or sending them out to our students, we need to make sure that they are accessible. There's some more, and I'm going to put this in the file transfer, so these links should be live if you open this up. But there's also another ADA amendment that was in 2011, and it includes web accessibility. So this is even if you web enhance your course, if you send out any information via email, you have something up on a website that they need to access that you're providing, they all need to be accessible. And you can go through, I'm not going to spend all this time on the laws. I do another workshop on the laws and just other ADA compliant issues, but you can access these if you want to see what the actual codes say. We also have our district regulations, and there's a whole sort of department at the district that deals with ADA compliant issues for both on the employee side to make sure that all documents and everything for district employees are done, but also for on the student side. So it really, even if you're a committee chair and you're creating documents and you have your minutes from a committee meeting that are going to be posted online, everything should be accessible. And I know right now at the district they're working to change all the board rules that are posted online into Word accessible documents. So let's get into the actual making Word documents accessible. The first one is your font style and size. So basically, there are two fonts that are best for using in accessible documents. The first is Arial and the second is Verdana. So even if you have a web page, I have a web page that I do personally. Most of my fonts on there are, I try to do Arial or Verdana. And particularly for the things that they're going to be downloading. That way it makes it easier for people to see. When you use some of the sans serif fonts, things like that, they get a little more scrolling and they could be harder to read. Also make sure that your minimum font size is 12 that you're using for documents. I know sometimes we try to cram a lot of stuff onto one page and we may reduce it down to 10, maybe even lower than that. The best sort of practice is to keep your font at a 12-point font. Also color. You can use color to convey information, but you have to remember that a fair amount of the population is colorblind. So if you want to use green and red, for instance, in this first chart, you just have X's. If someone is colorblind, those green and red X's are all going to look like the same color. If you want to use color to convey information, do something that also differentiates it from the other colors. So by putting Y for yes and N for no, but also keeping them in the colors, it conveys both messages that you're trying to convey. You can bold or underline if you're using color as well to differentiate that text from other text in case you want to use red or green in particular. Another big one, and this is a really easy fix, but I don't think a lot of people actually do it, is the alt text in formatting a picture. So basically, when you have a picture, say in a Word document or even a PowerPoint, you can right-click on it, and then a little box comes up, and you can click and we'll go through this. I'll show you how to actually do these things. You can go through and click the box, and you can click on the accessibility part, and then you can type in a description. And you can type a title, so when you hover your mouse over it, if you've ever seen that happen, an image text will come up. That's alt text. And you can also add more captions to it, so a screen reader would actually go in and read what the picture was, what the text was saying on the picture. If you're using columns, or if you're using tables, you should use column headers in the table. And again, you can right-click and you can set this up. And I'll go through again in the Word document and show you how to do this. But basically, you want to make sure that the header row is going to be at the top of each page, and that's important for when you have a screen reader. And a screen reader is something where if someone has visual disability, they can have something that will read all the text on a screen. Now, if the text isn't formatted correctly, it's not going to read it in any sort of order. And this is what we saw at the beginning of the video, where there was the student who had the issue with sight, where it was basically looking like he was looking through a straw, the text wasn't formatted properly. So he would have to go in and have a friend read the screen, a sighted friend who can make sense of what order things needed to be in. So this is a really important thing, is to make sure that when you're doing Word documents that everything is going to be read in the order that makes sense, that a sighted person would be able to do. You also, when you're using hyperlinks, so if you want to say, click here for more information, instead of just typing click here, you should really put what it is. So you can say, for more information on accessible documents, please visit the ADA compliance section of whatever, and then you would highlight where they're actually going, and that would be the hyperlink. Because if you just hit click here or visit, it doesn't necessarily give all of the information that somebody either using a screen reader or is not being able to actually click there. They may not know what that means to click there. You need to explain that to them. And so you should just also get in the habit of having hyperlinks that are meaningful. And a big one that we're going to go over today is actually using built-in formatting styles. So in Microsoft Word, up at the top, you can format your headings, and using these are actually going to be really useful in several ways. One is definitely for the ADA compliance, but you can also use your headings and then create a really nice table of contents, and things will link together in the document. So it's also a really good practice just to get in the habit of for creating really nice, even professional looking documents. Are there any questions so far? And if you have questions, again, just type right into the chat window. Okay. So if you go to the references and you're using the headings tab, you can create a table of contents and you can choose a style, and it really is nice if you have a longer document or if you have a document that has a lot of different sections in it. And so it automatically creates it, it automatically updates it if you change the document, and it's a really nice thing that Word actually has this feature now. If you are using lists and you want to designate lists, make sure you're doing bullets or numbers. Don't just use the tab key, don't just space over. Use the official bullets or numbers, because again, with a screen reader, it's going to read it the way that it's meant to be read. If you just space over, it may confuse the screen reader, and if someone is using that technology, they may not get the information the way that you need it to be conveyed. Text boxes are not accessible. They will not read the contents until it's reached the very end of the document. So if you have a whole bunch of text boxes, it's really not a good practice, because they won't be read in order. There are ways that you can kind of create text boxes without actually using the text box feature, and so I'll show you how to do that as well. But using text boxes, if you're going to use them, make sure that you also create a document that is in an accessible format in case somebody does need that. For instance, on my syllabus, I have a really colorful syllabus. It looks, it has tons of text boxes on it, and it's electronic, so I just send my students the link to the syllabus at the beginning of the semester. I also have one that's just black and white and just formatted in case someone needs it because they're using a screen reader, or the color or the text boxes, or the other one is too confusing. I do also have an accessible syllabus ready to go in case a student does need that. It's more work in the long run, but again, I just like to be prepared, and I don't want to be excluding students from having any information that I want them to have. When you are creating a document, you should put the statement at the end of your document. For instance, your syllabus or just to let them know, or any documents. Again, this is optional, but you should say that, you know, if it's an official document for the LA Community College District, this definitely needs to be on there. If you are creating, you know, accessible documents, you can put a statement, say that, you know, the LACCD does not discriminate. This document is in an accessible format. If you have any problems, and then you can put your information. Marty Kupselman is the ADA compliance administrator, and she works on the faculty side to make sure that everything within the district is compliant for faculty and staff and employees. She doesn't deal with the student side of things, but she's trying to also, I've been working with her, trying to raise awareness for faculty about ADA issues and sharing information so faculty are more informed about the laws and how they can make their documents accessible for all students. You can check accessibility. There are programs, I've listed a couple here, JAWS, NVDA, Window Eyes, and you can have it read it like a screen reader would read it. And you can see, oh, well, there's this whole section that wasn't read in order, or I thought that I was using bullets properly, but obviously I wasn't. And so if you know, the first time when you're starting to work with these accessible issues and you're setting up documents, it's a good idea to run your documents through one of these programs. They're free, and then you'll know where your document complies and if there are any issues that you need to go back and correct. It was a good learning tool for me as well, because I thought that I knew how to do certain things, and then I was like, oh, I didn't do this right. So I went back and I figured out how to do it properly, and then retested it, and the screen reader read it appropriately. So Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, the three probably main Office programs, are accessible for screen readers. And Windows has sort of some assisted technology that helps the screen readers interpret the documents, but it also needs you to set it up properly to begin with. So I'm just going to touch briefly about PowerPoint. You can save a PowerPoint as a Word document. So you just file, you send it to Microsoft Word, and then you select the outline only option. This is only going to give you the text. And then you can create an accessible document. So if you have a lot of pictures on there, you may need to embed them into this outline format if you want to share those. If they're just, so sometimes I have PowerPoints in class that I'm using, and I'll just put a picture up there just to provide like something interesting to look at, but I'm not focusing, I'm not lecturing on that picture. I wouldn't need to put that into this document. But if I teach humanities full-time, and so if I'm teaching about an image, say a Greek vase that I'm teaching about, that image is part of the lecture and I'm teaching about that particular vase, I would then have to embed that into the outline, do my alt text tagging, and then I would have a formatted document that I could share with students in case they needed it. So again, if you are using images and it's part of the content that you're discussing in the PowerPoint, embed those, but if it's just sort of auxiliary, you don't need to embed those. So basically for Microsoft Word, there are three main steps that you need to do to create a 508 compliant document. Make sure it's structured, so you're using the headings, you're using the bullets, the lists. Make sure that you're doing the alt text or alternative text for images, and make sure that the tables that you're creating are ADA compliant. Those are the main structures or the main components of a Word document. So the first thing you need to do is you can create a table of contents, and what I do is I actually start creating my document. I make the headings, I put in the information, and then from that I'll create the table of contents. It will automatically break it into topics and subtopics depending on the heading that I actually use. And so if you use an unstructured way of creating a table of contents, basically you just type table of contents and then you put summary report and then you do your dots yourself 1, and then the next one is page issues, dots 1. The top one where it says unstructured document, this is how a screen reader is going to read it. And this is how it's going to appear. If you do a structured document using your headings and subheadings, then this is how it's going to appear for a screen reader. And also, if you notice those links, they're underlined and in blue, they're actually hyperlinks into your document. So you can click on that in an electronic format, and it'll automatically go down to page 4 or 5 or whatever you need. So it's another really nice tool. If you're sharing a lot of documents electronically, people can just navigate very easily whether or not they need the accessible feature. As far as format and styling, up here you see this little box is circled. You can clear formatting, so everything that you formatted will be cleared out. But further down you see heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. These are the really important aspects of creating your document. So heading 1 is going to be a main heading. Heading 2 would be a subtopic within that heading, and heading 3 is even a smaller subtopic. So for instance, if I'm going to be typing out a lecture on, we'll just go back to Greek vases, I may say, Greek vases is the main heading. Heading 2 may be classical era. Heading 3 may be from Attica, which is a specific region. So I'm breaking this down in further headings. In between those headings is where I'm going to type my content, and you'll do that as just paragraph. And again, I'm going to pull up Microsoft Word and go through this with you as well. Stylized text, again, make sure that you're using Arial, or Verdana. And if you want to, the headings are automatically going to format. And so sometimes I go through and I just type my document and then I go back and do my headings after I have everything done and figure out how I want it arranged. And sometimes I go in and I do it from the very beginning because I already either have written an outline or I have it sort of outlined in my head. It just depends on how much prep I've done on the document is how I go, when I'm creating it initially, how I deal with that. So to provide alternate text for images, if you have an image, you right-click on it, you click on Format Picture, and then from there you're going to go into Web. And the newer version of Word has some other ways of doing this, and I'll go through those with you as well. And then you're just going to type what this picture is. So this is your alternative text, runner at the starting line. Again, if you have decorative images that really aren't conveying any information that is relating to your document or what you're doing or what you're trying to convey, for instance, a logo. If you have say we want to put the West Los Angeles College logo on there. That's not really conveying information about your topic unless it is significant. You wouldn't have to do alt text for that. If you just have some sort of ancillary image that really isn't conveying extra meaning or isn't a focus of your document, you don't have to do it. My rule is that I alt text everything because I think it's important. If I'm putting images in a Word document, I should alt text everything. If I'm converting that PowerPoint into a Word document, into that outline form, I won't alt text everything, or I won't include all of those images. If I do include the image, then it's important enough, and then I'll alt text it at that point. And then creating tables is also really important in terms of accessibility. So you don't want to just draw lines and sort of create your own table. You want to go to the actual table feature and do an insert table, and it'll access this table dialog, and then you can insert how many rows, how many columns. You can, and I would use one of these auto-formatted tables, and so it will automatically have your headers and everything else formatted for you, so you're not going to have to worry about going into your table later and making it accessible. So use the tools within Microsoft Office to create these documents. So basically, I kind of went through fairly quickly on how to do the styles, the alt text, and the tables. What I want to do now is I'm going to upload this PowerPoint so you can access it. So give me just a second for that. And then I'm going to go in and go into Word, and I just need to open up that on the, so I can show you what I'm doing here as well. Okay, so I'm just sharing a file for you. It's a PDF document of this presentation that you can access. And let me open up Word on my computer, and then I will share my screen with you. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen. Can you see my screen on the computer? Okay, let me know when you can see the Word. Can you see the Word document yet? I'm getting a Java error here. Let me try to do this again. This is not good. Okay. Can you see, if I go into sharing, it should share the Word document. I haven't had problems before in sharing my screen, so I'm not really sure what is going on. Okay, can you see the screen now? I just went through and redid it. You can just type yes or no in the chat. This is not good. Okay, according to everything that I'm doing, it should be sharing. If I'm not able to do this, if you open up, do both of you have Word on your computer? I can talk you through it, and then we can just kind of do it together that way, if that would work. Okay, so if you want to go ahead and open up a blank Word document, you should still be able to hear me with this program in the background, hopefully. And then I can, I have the latest version of Microsoft Office, not 365, but the 2013. So that's the version that I'll be going through. But if you open up a blank document, and when you open it up along the top, there should be, it says normal, no spacing, heading 1, title, subtitle, and a whole bunch of options. Those are going to be your formatting styles. So that's where you can put in your headings and your subheadings. And then you can, there's one called list paragraph. And so that's where you're going to type in, so you can make that table of contents and you can create accessible documents. And so if you type in heading 1, just click on that, and then you type, it's going to go ahead, you can highlight it and then type heading 1. It's going to change the format, and then you're going to see a little arrow to the left of that. That means that you are typing in this particular format. And so if you're creating a document, again, you can do it where you just type everything out and then go back and highlight and then create your headings. Once you have a few headings, what you can do is go to Insert up at the top, one of the tabs, and where is it? Might be under. Actually, it's under References in this version. You can go to Table of Contents under References, and then you can do the automatic table, and there's a whole bunch of options that you can do, and it's going to add a table of contents. When you do that, you need to make sure that your cursor is where you want the table of contents to land. Otherwise, it may be in the wrong spot. So make sure it's at the beginning of the document. If you go to Insert and you click on Picture, and you can either do a picture from your computer, or you can do a sort of automatic one that Word has, whether it's your online pictures or whatever. So go ahead and insert a picture into your document, and then you're going to right-click on it once you have that done. So I'll give you just a few seconds to get that done. So put a picture into your document. It doesn't matter which one. It doesn't, this is just for training. And then right-click on it and click Format Picture. When you get to Format Picture, if you click, if you're in the newest version of Word, there's a little toolbar that'll come up on the right-hand side. Click the third icon. It looks like a square with arrows in it. And then the second option, Alt Text. You can give your a picture a title, and that's what the screen reader is going to read. You can also do a description. That is not necessary. It's the title that's really important. So just title your picture, and you want it to be descriptive. So you want it to be, if someone cannot see this picture, what message are you trying to convey with the picture? And that's what you should be writing in that title box. And so doing the alt text is really easy. Again, it's just a matter of right-clicking and then finding where you insert the alt text and then putting your title in and creating that alt text. The last thing that is really important for accessible documents is if you want to create a table. And again, if you go into, let's see, References once again, I think it's References. Okay, actually this one is on insert on this version. I have a Mac in my office computer, and the commands are really different, and I'm on a PC at home, and so that's why I'm kind of getting confused, because I usually make my documents at work on my Mac, so the commands are different on a Mac, and the places are different on a Mac than they are on a PC. But on a PC, if you go to insert, there's a little table, and you can go to insert table. The best thing to do is you can decide how many rows and columns once you go to insert. You can fix your column worth, auto fit to contents, auto fit to window, and then you just hit OK. And when you format that, you can then, if you look at the top, once you insert your column, you can change the format by clicking on all these different options. These are the ones that are going to be auto-formatted for accessibility. So definitely make sure that you're clicking on one, whether it's one of the color ones or just whatever style that you like. You can change the color of shading as well. To the right of that, there's one that says shading. And so pick a column type, and it's going to automatically make the top row sort of be your labels, and the column on the far left is going to be more labels. So those will repeat when you go on to different pages. And so it's really important for accessible documents that you're using all of the tools that Word has created in order to, one, it's easier because they've already done all the work for you, but the other is that it's automatically going to be set up for ADA compliance. The last thing that I want to show you in a Word document is if you go to File, and again, I'm used to my Mac, so give me just a second. There's a way to check for ADA compliance in the Microsoft Office toolbar, or in the basically in their program, and so you can check to see if your document is ADA compliant. You can also do the same thing if you want to save it as a PDF. You can also go in and you can check, do an auto check in PDF or in Adobe as well, and they will check to see how ADA compliant your document is. And so there are these sort of, I recommend using those screen reader programs that I was talking about, because it's going to be more comprehensive. You're going to actually learn what is and what isn't ADA compliant, but it's really important that you are checking your document. Again, I use the screen readers, those programs, but you can also go into Word, and there's a way that you can check for ADA compliance. I've found that it's not quite as comprehensive as going into the other programs. So I apologize for the technology issues. I've never had that happen, but I hope that this was informative to you and you learned a little bit about creating some different document styles and using the preloaded content tools that is in Word, how to convert PowerPoints into accessible documents, and making sure that what you're sharing with your students or even colleagues fall under that category. Are there any questions? You're very welcome. Thanks for joining in. And on May 8th, I'm doing another ADA compliant workshop, and then also a best practices for online classes if you teach online as well. And so, and there's some great also webinars and in-person workshops through the Tech Fair. So check out the schedule, and thanks for attending. Have a great weekend. And my email is on the PowerPoint, so if you have any questions, feel free to email me.